Sam, does this maybe talk to, in signing a player like this, that maybe Cameron Carter-Vickers doesn't have the speed, albeit the size, where this kid does, that Vimmer is not the answer that they were looking for, where this kid may end up being that. And oh, by the way, we're still looking at Juan Foyth, coming over from Argentina.
Yeah.
What is your take on Davinson Sanchez? On Davinson Sanchez? Goodness gracious, I got to get that out.
Well, I'm like Tim. So I mean, for me to tell you how wonderful of a player he is, or terrible of a player, would be just disingenuous at the very least. So I'll just defer to. I tell you, two people I do have to give some credit to. You know who called this guy and said he was a great player and said it a few months back was actually 80. I think he's like at 80 PF. And Mark Ashett. I mean, Mark.
Yeah.
Those guys follow Eredivisie, and I think both of them kind of caught this guy can play. Yeah, no, I mean, look, the signing in and of itself made me question for a second. Well, what does this mean for Cameron Carter-Vickers? And then this one Foyth, the Argentinian center back, makes me really think, wow, they've been bigging up CCV for a while. And earlier this week, who was I watching? I was watching Moussa Dembele and Eric Lamela get interviewed, and the question was asked, who's the most intense player in training? They both said Cameron Carter-Vickers. And we've all heard Poch talk about how he's sort of the future, but I don't know how that holds true when you sign this guy with incentives looks to be or would be the most expensive signing we've made, and another young center back. I think the bigger issue is much like our success turned around under Poch by way of him focusing on a defensive foundation. He is forward thinking enough, and I think it's one thing that we didn't really pay enough attention to. Is that he's like, okay, I've got some stars here in the back that are going to be aging. And if I'm thinking 5 years plus forward, I'm going to need to start thinking about who those guys are going to be. And so I think that's a Davinson Sanchez, maybe a Cameron Carter-Vickers, maybe a Foyth, maybe, Kyle Walker-Peters, Ryan Sessegnon, which I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, he'll be signed. He's going to be signed before the window, and he may be signed before next Sunday.
You think that's the championship player?
Yeah, I do.
Graham Roberts. You don't think it's Jack Grealish's Cavs, not the player, just his Cavs?
Well, I mean, just think about it. If you could
fit socks over those Cavs
with his Cavs, which that was really wild, right? I was surprised that Graham Roberts did that. Like it was on TalkSport, right? And he just went off on, kind of chest pounding. I've got all these contacts at the club, which he certainly does. And he says, what did he say? He says, we're going to sign a championship player. We're going to sign a right back. And we're going to sign a central attacking midfielder, which we all know is Barkley. Was there one other?
I think that was a three.
Yeah, that was a three. And
I think he said the center back, and that would be Foyth.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, is that what we're looking for at the rest of this transfer window? Sessegnon, Barkley, Foyth, and who are we bringing in as the right back? Are we really bringing in Serge Aurier?
Oh my God.
Let's talk about that. What's everyone's opinion?
All right,
Kenny, what's your opinion on this guy?
Absolutely undeniable talent at right back. He is, in every word of the definition, world class. But he is an absolute cancer as a human being, and I just simply don't think he would fit. Now, listen. Spurs have this mantra lately, especially in the Pochettino era, of we're only going to have good people and we're going to have tough players.
Right.
And this whole bit. Would it be the worst thing in the world to bring in a basket case of a player and with world-class talent and let Poch trying to rein him in and be a part of a collective, of a team that could possibly do not just good things but great things? Does he fit the mold for the system? Absolutely. He has an engine that will not stop. He is a world-class defender, a world-class offensive defensive player, but he's a basket case. So you take the good with the bad in this case. Would I love to have him? Talent-wise, yes. People-wise, I would be very apprehensive.
I wish Vass was here because he and I categorically run the opposing sides of this. He just thinks it's business, and you know what? If the powers that be want him, I want him too. I'm like you. I want no part of him. He reeks like Adam Pac-Man Jones to me.
Yeah.
So and I just think there's too many. Look, I think, and I also think, from a business standpoint, there's too many other good right backs that I think that could do a very good job for us.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously I'm biased towards Pereira, who, by the way,
But
didn't play today.
well, let me ask you this: good right backs, or would you say Serge has potential to be elite at a right back? Because 2 years ago at PSG, I mean, I would say he was one of the best right backs in the world. I mean, would you deny that?
No.
No. I don't think anybody denies his talent. But what good's world class talent when you got a 5-cent head?
Well, maybe I don't know. He's
Is there any
fucked it
way
up with
Serge
one
Aurier
team.
comes to Tottenham after being paid what he's been paid at PSG?
I mean, where else is he gonna go?
I think he's a cheap. I think he's actually for the talent, relatively speaking. I think his ultimate fee would end up being cheap, attitude aside. But it just astonishes me that here's a guy that said that Ibra and his manager were sucking each other off, and a guy like Mauricio Pochettino is okay with him being at Spurs. I don't know. It just seems, pardon the pun, it just seems tremendously out of character.
But
Yeah.
I get it, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's fucked it up there. Maybe he's learned his lesson. You know, how many other teams really want to bring in someone like this?
So you know the story about him.
Look at this. Here's the thing. We as supporters, we bitch when we're not going out there to sign top talent. But then when here's a player with top talent that we actually could get, I mean, given the circumstances, we're not able to, or we're not willing to pay top dollar like some other clubs that we're trying to compete with. So here's a player we can get by not having to pay top dollar, but his top talent, and now we don't want him.
No, but I just don't really. I guess the thing that I really struggle with is that I just don't know how many great years do you get out of a player like that before he inevitably does what he is just simply conditioned to do. I mean, a lot of guys were sort of banning about this. Well, we got to forgive him and this, that. I was like, no. I mean, this isn't about forgiveness. I mean, it's not. I mean, this is. I mean, he's been sort of a serial offender, and this is very much sort of speaks to his character. And
Hey,
I think
I will.
Okay.
I will say this. At least it was a bouncer he hit. We're not talking about domestic violence.
No, it wasn't. It was a cop. It was a fucking cop. It was a cop that he hit. and the other thing is this is that okay? So you know how he did this? He did this thing he did this thing with Laurent Blanc and Ibra. He did it on Facebook Live, right? And then, as opposed to just fucking manning up and said, "Look, I was fucked up and I was stupid. It was just a terrible momentary lapse of reason." He says, "No, it wasn't me. No, that's not my voice." I mean,
well, he did it. He did it with a
ref.
ref. He did it with a ref too. He started calling out he called out a ref on like social media on a video like that. I think he posted it on Instagram, and UEFA banned him.
Look, we already get enough attraction and press because of being Tottenham Hotspur. I don't want a player to add fuel to the fire. And I just don't think. I mean, again, and I just you know what? And it just strikes me as odd. I just think that we've got this sort of principled ethos that we're building here, this foundation, and then players like that, in my mind, have no business being here. So
yeah,
I'll tell you this: I'll take him.
My final take on him is this:
whore, you're a fucking whore, Tim.
He makes Emmanuel Adebayor look like the poster child for the Boy Scouts. And we can't go 2 seasons with Emmanuel Adebayor on our roster before jettisoning him off and paying 3 more years of his salary just to get rid of him. I just don't see it.
Chairs, where are you on this?
I'm not one.
Traditionalist.
I'm not one for nonsense players. I think we've talked about players who've acted up in the past, and this guy just reminds me too much of Balotelli. And he was just a train wreck at Man City and at Liverpool. And where is he? Where is he now? Right? He's just faded into insignificance. And
I think he's with Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, but
had a good season last season, to be fair.
Maybe he's got his head down and grown up.
But it's Ligue 1. That's Ligue 1, and he's he's not under the microscope like he is in London, and the press will be all over a guy like Serge Aurier.
Well, right, the Red Tops love shit like that. Someone coming out of a nightclub all boozed up. I mean, look at the furore that they try to create out of Dele Alli after he came back from the US tour. You've seen leaving a nightclub at 5 a.m., but he was sober as a judge. Right? There's absolutely no drama, but the press wanted to make drama. So you add this guy into the mix and he does something, it's not going to bode well and it won't end well. So I got to think there are better options than him.
But I'll just say this. It wouldn't surprise me just based on some of the rumors that I've heard. There's real validity in the inquiry on him. But I'm not going to be as brazen. We're going to sign Sessegnon.
I'll say this. Let me just say one last thing on him, and I'm done. We're not going to bring him in if Pochettino doesn't think he can control it. We're not bringing in a single player that Pochettino does not want to work with. So if he's brought in, it's because Poch thinks he can make it work, and it's not going to be a cancer to the locker room. And if that's the case, he's elite talent, and I'm all for it because we need that type of talent to take us to the next level.
I think we don't. I don't want to speak for us all, but my sense is that if he was signed, I think we would all probably agree that due diligence has been done. They've talked to the player. There's a level of expectation. There's a reasonable degree of confidence and education on management's part that they know what they're dealing with and that they can get the behavior that they want out of him. So I don't want him, but any player that puts the lily white shirt on, I'm gonna have to support for some period of time.
Yeah, there's shenanigans and fun when you think back to Paul Gascoigne and listen, he had issues with booze and he did a lot of just off the wall crazy things, but nothing that truly demeaned another human being. And that's all Serge Aurier does is one after the other, whether it's a ref or whether it's a racial slur or whether it's a sexual orientation slur or smacking a cop. There's a big difference. And the human factor, I just simply don't think allows him when you have a Pereira or a João Cancelo or other players that are out there that can be bought, that you would go and spend the kind of money that you're willing to invest in a right back of his caliber to bring to the club when you have all that extra baggage. I don't see it. If you're gonna sign a French player, go get Martial. Don't get him.
So Cedric for 15 million or Aurier for 25 and all the baggage.
Cedric.
Timmy?
Yeah, Cedric. I mean, he's got the experience in the league.
Yeah, I think so too.
Even if you're putting him at the same price, I think I'd take Cedric.
I bet half our listeners
just because we know that he can do it in the Premier League.
Safe bet. Yeah. But to your point, I mean, we talked about earlier is that we learned from Davies and Trippier on a game like today that you don't need a serviceable fullback. Mm-hmm. You need a game-changing fullback, and I don't think either of those two could be described in that vein.
So the club have announced that, 45 million euros and whatever the breakdown is in pounds and dollars, 36 million, I think, in pounds or whatever it is. And it's subject to a work visa and a medical. Sammy, how long does that usually all take? This week we'll see him holding a scarf and wearing a shirt?
Well, the medical should be this week. I mean, unless there's any sort of compelling reason, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't get his work visa within, by the time the window ends.
Okay. Well, I mean, that one might be the problem because he hasn't had enough starts for Colombia, so you're going to have to find another basis for him to get in under the FA's regulations.
I'm not well versed in what it takes. I just, assuming that there's no real hiccups, that they never seem to take more than 10 days or so, right? But I don't understand the prerequisites that are involved.
No, I think there's some exceptions for like young players for their age, so he might be able to get in under one of those. But one of the
might his nationality, the fact that he's Colombian, there's not very many Colombian players in the league. Might that help?
It doesn't matter on that. It matters how many starts you have for your country. That's one of the elements for the work visa. There's a bunch of different ways you can qualify. That's one of them. I think the young talent is another one. You can get like an exception if you haven't had the number of starts for your country.
Okay, interesting. Well, cross your fingers.
Yeah, Cheers. Vanish Bensal, he asks on Twitter, do you think Sanchez plays regularly in a 3-4-3? How long do you think it'll take for that to manifest itself?
Good question.
You there, Cheers?
Fuck him.
Yeah, sorry. I'm
Damn,
happily,
mute
button.
I'm happily talking away to myself, realizing I'm on mute. So,
we're just in season 4.
Yeah, you guys were on it. So I think it'll be probably a couple of months before he gets some appearances. It's good. It's great cover for injuries. It allows us to move Dyer into the midfield. I think I saw a rumor of Vimmer 18 mil to West Brom. now that we have Sanchez. So it's a great chess piece to have. I didn't get excited about the signing. I'm happy for the signing. Don't get me wrong. I didn't get excited because I'm the guy who likes the flair player, the guy, the big name, the Van der Vaart, the Klinsmann that's going to come in and make a difference and bang in the goals and get the fans